Welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast, episode 7. Hello, and welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast. I am Gavin Patterson, and I have my amazing co-host, Julian Pombo, who is wearing a cap today.
Yeah.
Just thought you'd want to know that.
Yeah. I'm dressed impeccably today.
You look sharp.
I'm not wearing a hat to hide my bed hair.
Oh.
No, I don't do that.
Your hair's too short to have bed.
Oh, no, it's not. It's I don't know how I manage it, but I wake up every morning and I just have little bits sticking out that it just looks dumb. So
I don't know. It's not that dumb.
This is why we don't film it. This is why it's purely an auditory experience. An oral experience, rather. Anyway.
So, today's episode will be all about performing. And if you're paying attention, I messed up the order. Yes, I did. I was supposed to do performing before recording, but no one will notice, right?
No. And to be honest, this is my hot take. You can switch them about. I mean, I've done that. It depends on what works for you, but generally, as a rule, we prefer you would. We advise that you perform your stuff before you record it, because stuff will change.
Yeah, I messed up. I was that eager to get to recording. I was like, let's do recording now. Performing. Though performing is, I mean, I've been performing longer than I've been recording. So the first episode in this series was the songwriting stage. Mm-hmm. Then we went on to recording. Now we're performing. So you can interchange recording, performing, depending on your situation, but we would recommend that performing comes first. So the best way to think about performing, in my opinion, is kind of like a testing stage of your song, especially when you've just come out of writing process and the rehearsing process, is taking your ideas and testing them with an audience.
Yeah.
Now, the best analogy I can think of is, if anyone is familiar with Beatles lore, the Beatles spent some time in Hamburg before they made it, before they were famous. We're talking 1961, 1962, something like that. I think that's where they met Ringo.
Was it?
Yeah. So the four Beatles at that point was George, Paul, John, and Pete Best on drums.
Right.
They went out to Hamburg, and they played. This is where I'm lacking in knowledge. I don't know the name of the places they played.
No,
but there was a band that was playing alongside them, and it just so happened that there was a guy on drums from Liverpool, and they kind of knew him, and it was Ringo playing with another band. That's how they met him. And they were playing every night, testing all their material, all their songs, and learning stagecraft, and they were selecting songs that worked best, and a lot of songs were dropped and were never used again. And by the time they got back home, the songs were so well gigged and so tight. Well, they fired their drummer and hired Ringo because they thought he was a better fit for the band. But the theory goes that he was too good looking, Pete Best. He was better looking than the lead singer, so they dumped him because of that. I don't know. They say Pete Best was a better drummer, but I don't know. It's debatable.
Yeah.
So the idea, they got it so right. Like, they gigged those songs so hard. When they came back, it was just so tight. They had all their best material, and then they were picked up by EMI, and it was the Parlophone branch of EMI, and they went into the recording studio. It's kind of not changed really, and you should still have that format today. Is, give your gigs some, test them out.
Yeah.
Test out your songs with gigs. We're going to talk about different aspects of performing, why it's important, why you should be doing it, and we'll maybe share some experiences of our own, which are really funny mishaps and things that happen and things to watch out for, and things you'll maybe recognise. So we'll get into that. So first, I want to talk about band aesthetic. This is where this comes into play, because this will be the first time that anyone outside of your own band will see the band. So this is kind of where this starts to become important.
Totally. Like there's I've seen lots of different ways to go about it. So a very popular one is just have a uniform. Like the Hives kind of did that. Actually, the Beatles did that. They had a stylist come in and she came in and she was just like, you're gonna wear this and you're gonna look like this and you're gonna grow your hair out and all this kind of stuff. So they had a set look. The Hives also had a set look with the suits and the ties and stuff. So I'm not saying that you should all go to, your new band and you should all go to Slater's and get like tailor-made suits. That's not what we're saying here. Is that just pick a uniform. If you want to go for a uniform, go for it. But like, don't you don't
there are
have
some
to go
bands
crazy.
Still do that.
Pick a theme. Like all black is a classic. It's a bit boring, for sure. It's kind of been overdone, but it's a look you can try.
It depends on the music.
It does depend on the music. Yeah.
It depends on what your whole vibe is. If it's pop
punk, don't turn up just wearing all black. Actually that's a good point. Like the way you look should reflect the music you're making as well, because it is
an extension of you.
It's 100 like seeing a band live is as much a visual experience as it is a listening experience as well.
Yep.
Yeah, what I would say is just try out simple stuff. Don't go unless you've got a really solid idea. Like if you're like, let's be like Slipknot and let's create characters and let's put on masks and blah blah blah. Cool, go for it. Like if you have a really solid concept, then 100% go for that. But
depends on the scene you're in.
Yeah.
If it's like, I would say the sort of metal genre, punk, that kind of thing, they have very strong, aesthetic things. Like it tends to be that style of music has like real strong identity, like in their look. Whereas something like a folky band or a sort of maybe, I don't know, sort of lighter pop or light rock or whatever, it's kind of generic, just smart casual, some jeans, it's not really a big deal. It's like, look at the Eagles. They just turn up with jeans and t-shirts. Like it is kind of a uniform, but it's not that strong. It's not like Kiss.
Yeah.
It's not real deep part of
like
their
face paint and So don't think about it too hard. I've played in bands where they have like a really strict uniform and it doesn't really add anything. If anything, for me it's more of an annoyance because I have to go, oh great, I have to go to Primark or whatever you want to call it, and I have to get this and that and this and just for one gig, and it's a nightmare. So
first world problems, eh?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it is vitally important.
It is.
If you think like when I say Miley Cyrus, you're thinking of 1,000 different things right now. You're thinking of all her crazy stuff that she does in her gigs and all the performance and just all the pantomime rubbish that she brings along. It's not like the song is like this small thing compared to the massive show like that goes on around about her. It's her aesthetic is like probably louder than the actual music. It's huge. Same with Lady Gaga.
Yeah, David Bowie, like his
Oh yeah.
he actually had multiple personas.
Yep.
He had Ziggy Stardust and Thin White Duke, and then it was just David Bowie.
So aesthetic goes beyond just what you're wearing.
Yeah.
It can also change from album to album.
Yeah.
We've seen that as well. If you think Beatles 1963, Beatles 1966, it's totally different. From the prim and proper, all suited up to Sgt. Pepper, all the bright colours and stuff.
Yeah.
You can change. A band can change in the course of its life, depending on the material it's writing. It's completely, I would say it's completely at the mercy of what's happening musically. I mean, their aesthetic changed perfectly, and it perfectly aligned with what they were writing. It made sense.
Yeah. I can't think of a lot of like successful bands where the aesthetic just doesn't match up with what they're playing. I'm actually trying. I can't think of anything. If you guys think of something, message us and let us know.
Yeah.
And we'll look into it.
So that brings me on to stagecraft. So this kind of goes. This can come easier if you've got your aesthetic down, because it's kind of like a facade, a sort of mask you put on. If you're dressing up in your sort of gear. I'm thinking of a few bands I know that they have this set uniform. Some of them even go as far as dyeing their hair different colours, and they all wear like coordinated colours and stuff. And it's like putting on a
Power Rangers, basically.
Yeah, they have this sort of persona, and it makes it easier to kind of let go on stage, because you kind of feel like you're not yourself. I know some people who do like acting and plays and things like that on stage, and it is like that. You're not you, so it becomes easier to just let go and enjoy yourself on stage.
I mean, yeah, totally depends.
But the whole stagecraft element is you're trying to. So it's all very well if you can play your instrument and the song sounds good and everything, but you have to try and sell that song to the people watching. They have to believe in it and believe in that performance. And if you're just standing there stiff as a board, it's just not going to be as exciting to watch. It depends on the style of music. Again, if it's like, lounge sort of jazz, easy listening stuff, you're not going to be doing some power slides.
Exactly. You're not going to be jumping around and moshing with the crowd.
I think the most important thing is just to feel it, be relaxed,
Yeah. There's an element of, putting on this kind of mask and persona kind of thing, but that persona is kind of like a reflection of a part of you anyway.
Yeah, totally.
Like it's really difficult to create a character that is completely, that is a completely different person from you, because it's impossible. Like all the characters that, if you create a character, it will just be like a exaggeration of one part of your personality, if anything. So
it grows with the more times you do it as well.
Yeah.
So the first time you step up on stage is like terrifying. It can be.
Yeah. I was the worst frontman, which is why I don't do it. Well, I kind of do it with our band, sort of.
You're really good. Like
I'm okay now, but
you should see Julian with his bass face and his hair flipping. It's great. It's glorious.
My wonderful storytelling.
He like hair flipping. He doesn't have much hair now because he shaved it all off. But he used to have really, really long hair, and the hair flips were impressive.
Don't worry, I'm planning on growing. I'm growing at the moment. It's just a bit of like an overgrown hedge. But yeah, like we all have to start somewhere. I was the worst frontman. Like when I started like gigging with my band, Kurupi, which doesn't exist anymore. There's another band called Kurupi out there, and they're actually pretty good. So check them out. Yeah, I didn't even play bass in this band.
Oh.
I played guitar.
Oh.
I played rhythm guitar, and I wasn't very good at it. And I sang a lot of the songs, and I was just bad. Then we changed it
Got to
around,
learn.
and I ended up playing bass, and our bassist ended up doing frontman stuff, and he was actually excellent. Probably because he was already like doing quite a lot of acting at that time. So
Yeah.
yeah, it took me a long time to sort of like relax, and like from my experience, it's scary at first because you're talking to like loads of people, and trying to keep them entertained is scary. But the thing I found is that for me, what works is you just it's gonna sound really like I don't really tend to put on a persona. I try to be my genuine, authentic self as much as I can. I just talk to the audience as I would talk to you right now,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I found that's what works for me.
Mm.
And you can try it and see. It works for me, and the audience seem to like it. But it totally depends,
Yeah.
So
So, next point I want to talk about. So, you're at a gig.
yeah,
Your band's entered into this, usually in Glasgow anyway. When you first start out, you maybe get in contact with a promoter or promoting company, and they organise like 5 bands to play this venue,
yeah.
and then everyone turns up, and you get half hour usually,
A wee half-hour slot.
and it's just band all night. So like from 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
it's maybe 5 or 6 bands. So, what is your thoughts on sticking around and seeing the other bands and contributing? And,
I used to be really bad. Just going to show that we're not saints here. I used to be really bad, and I would listen to a band and I would go, that's it. That's me done. See, I'm going home. See you guys. When really what I should have been doing, the what's the word? The friendly thing, I guess, is stick around, listen to them, talk to them. Talk to the other bands. 100%.
especially if there's a headline gig and you're the support act, you should never ever leave early, because they have asked you. They've maybe heard your stuff, and they go, yeah, we'll get these guys to support us
Yeah.
for our album launch or whatever.
I mean, to be fair, like that's like I think it's different if a band has asked you to play for them.
But if it's a separate
I
thing,
found that when it was like when it was a gig put on by a promoter, there wasn't any of that. There wasn't much of a conversation between other bands, so there wasn't that sort of personal. 100%. If your band gets booked by another band to support this band, don't just slither away. You should stay. Don't be a stay.
yep.
Because that's gonna look really bad on you if you just sort of slither away and then just wait to get paid, kind of thing.
Yep. I would stay around. Even if it's just if you've got the time to stay around. Obviously, if you've got something else, then.
Yeah.
But if it's a promoter gig and there's 6 bands on, it's just courtesy to just check them out. See, have a chat. Like, I really like what you were doing there, or
yeah.
And it's always worth sticking around to get the usual good set, guys.
Oh,
Everyone loves a good set, guys.
I hate getting a good set, guys. Do you know what I prefer to hear? Oh, you guys sounded really good. I really enjoyed that. That's a genuine comment. Good set guys, it's like the equivalent of like a thumbs up on like a Facebook Messenger, like, you know,
Scene.
it's just like,
No reply.
or just being left unseen. It's a bit the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that if anyone has experienced this, you're packing up your pedal boards, you're wrapping your cables, you've just finished your set, you're putting your cymbals in your bag, you're trying to hurry up for the next band, and the drummer comes in and he's like, "Oh, hey, good set, guys." Packing up the pedal guitar, you're passing them on the stairs as they're coming up to the stage, you're leaving the stage, and you always get that. Good set, guys. Good set, guys.
Good set, guys. But like,
so
it's face down, like no eye contact.
No eye contact. Yeah.
Don't be that. Don't do that.
Oh, it's a bit of a running joke.
Like, if you don't like, it's kind of like that. Like, you don't have to say anything. See if you didn't enjoy it. I would rather you didn't even like say a thing. You don't have to give me a good set, guys. Like, that's just gonna annoy me even more. It's either you come up and you tell me how much you genuinely enjoyed it, or if you didn't like it, don't say anything. But
it's just courtesy, give them a chance, because they're in the exact same boat as you are. You've played your set, you've put your heart and soul into it. Everyone's come to see, well, anyone who has come to see you likely will leave after after you're done.
Yeah.
But you should give them a chance, because maybe they'll return the favor. They'll listen to your stuff, and they'll maybe get a relationship with that band.
Totally.
You can maybe help each other out in the future.
Yeah, like, I think the thing to remember is that you're not in a 1990s like teen comedy where you're in a constant rivalry with other people.
Yeah.
You're not like that band that's playing there aren't out there to take away your fans or whatever. They're not your rivals. Like,
no.
I don't it doesn't exist, band rivalry. Do you know what? It's just something that is just fabricated.
Yeah.
If anything, we should all be out there. Like, you're doing music, they're doing music. You should just bond over the fact that you're making music and support each other. Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't see the other bands as competition. They're more like potential collaborators.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing a gig, but it's like a punk rock night, or you're in the same genre. Your audiences are most likely very similar, and there's a little bit of collaboration there.
Yeah.
That could potentially happen. If you look at like all modern chart music, you'll see, featuring someone. Everyone's collaborating.
Everyone's in everybody's music.
Yeah.
I mean,
it works.
Paul McCartney collaborated with Kanye West. Like, everybody collaborates with everybody.
Yeah. So, speaking of promoters.
Okay.
Those lovely promoters. And how to deal with them. So you can get
I'll
all
let you deal
sorts
with this one.
Yeah, you get all sorts of promoters. Now, what is a promoter? A promoter, or a promotion company, or someone who puts on gigs, is a person or company that hires bands or asks bands to play events. They book the venue and promote it. That's the whole key here. Market it.
Keyword.
Posters, Facebook, the lot. They usually have a social media following. They have an audience of their own. So some promotion company will, have, say, 1,000 followers on Facebook because people like the events that this promotion company puts on. They usually specify in one or two genres because they don't want to be too broad. And in an ideal world, they would have, a nice venue with some decent bands, a decent night, lots of people who like to come to their events to see kind of roughly the same type of music. And it's supposed to be a really good thing because you're playing to a new, potential audience, some groups of people that you can keep as your own audience, and it's this. The exchange is they take percentage of the ticket money, sometimes a really high percentage of ticket money. However, it rarely works out like that.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of promoters are really, really, really tough on money. So the band ends up with not very much at the end of the day. And in both senses of monetary stuff, they end up with not a lot of money left on the table for the band, and they don't end up with a growing audience at all, usually very small. Usually because they overcharge for ticket prices, and who wants to pay a tenner to see 6 unsigned, unnamed, unheard of bands? Nobody. So there can be a lot of really bad stuff. Bad stuff can happen. You get some good promoters and some bad ones.
Yeah.
And the key thing is, as I said before, promoting. A vast majority of them don't actually promote. They don't make posters. They don't put social media posts out. They don't do the work that they're commissioned to do. And what the kind of thing we're trying to say is, all of the stuff that they do, you can do yourself.
Yeah.
Now, the premise is like they are a promoting company. They are supposed to be, set up to do it better than you. But the myth of, I can't really do this. I don't know how to book venues and stuff.
Yeah, it's so much easier now. Like, like all the stuff that they're doing, you can do yourself.
Yep. You can put on nights yourself. You can, like you and your own band, you can phone up a venue, book 2 other bands that are similar to your style, and you can develop a friendship with them. You can promote it yourself and put on the gig and give them decent pay, be fair.
Yeah.
And it sets a good example in the scene. Like, all those guys are really cool. They put on that gig all by themselves, and they paid as well, and they let us set up our merch stand. Like, it was a really good atmosphere. There was lots of people there. Ticket price was fair. Now, there are some promoting companies that are really good at that.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we're not like it's like anything. There's people out there just serving themselves, and then there's people that are actually wanting to grow a music scene. And
one
stuff
a
like
good
that.
one, I think he's absolutely great, is Warren McIntyre. He does the 7-Song Club. It's the Tron Theatre, I think.
Right.
I think he does it maybe once a year. I'm not quite sure. But you have 7 original songs, and you come and you play them. He actually sometimes runs at a loss because he wants to pay all the bands. He thinks that the music has value, and the musicians deserve to be paid for it. He also does the Merchant City Music Festival thing in Glasgow. Great guy. He also does some stuff at the Kelvin Grove bandstand. And he treats the bands really well. He always gets a good crowd.
Yeah.
And he's, if they were all like him, the music scene in Glasgow would be so much better. It just rewards the musicians, Yeah, I wish they were all like that.
Yeah. The thing we're also getting at as well is that don't accept, we're just a band that gets paid like, I don't know, like 20 quid for a gig kind of thing. Like, don't accept that as the norm, because it shouldn't be. Like, go and look out for other stuff, and if it's not working out for you, then 100% put on your own.
It's weighing up the It's weighing up that we only got 20 quid for this gig. Yeah, but there was 300 people, people who are interested in this style of music, and we got 50 likes on Facebook the following morning. It's like, well, that was worth it. You've got to weigh it up. If you only got paid 20 quid and there was 4 people there and bar staff, then there's a problem. It's like, it was basically just a paid practice, barely.
Yeah.
It was a waste of your time, other than you got to play on a nice stage with a sound engineer and it's kind of not worth it unless you just look at it as, oh, we got to play live. There was a couple of folk there. Every time you play to someone who's never heard your stuff before and they walk away liking it, that's a win, in my opinion. See, we'll talk about this when we talk about touring. There's some venues you'll go to and it'll be packed, and then the next night you'll have 3 people. But if those 3 people really enjoyed your music and thought it was the best thing, fans for life, then I think it's worth it. And it's like every like tiny little thing counts, I would say. And in fact, that, speaking of sound engineers, brings me on to live sound engineers.
Right.
When you're performing. So, yeah.
They're a strange breed.
Very.
They come in lots of different shapes and sizes and moods. I've worked with some incredible live sound engineers,
same.
some really, really good, really good people. And then I've also worked with some people where I'm just
It makes you want to quit
I'm
music.
at a loss for words, really, yeah. It's soul destroying.
Oh yeah. So you're up on stage, like, okay, it's your time to sound check. You've loaded in, 2 bands have already done their sound check. You've seen how brutal this guy is, like, okay, here we go. So you're up on stage and you just get, kick drum please. And then your drummer's sitting there going, boom, 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 boom for a good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Snare. Gah, and it just goes on and on and on. And you get this, even if the guy is snarky and, not very tolerant,
Yeah.
just keep your cool.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, this guy has got control of your sound and he can sabotage it as much as he likes. And there's nothing you can do about it.
If you really want to do something about it, kill him with kindness.
Exactly.
Just be so sound that he can't even get mad at you.
Yeah. Help him out, because he's doing this every night, listening to really, really loud music, usually every single night. It must be a hard job. I could never do it. The studio is where I'm most comfortable. Live gigs, I just no.
To be fair, he is very good at live gigs, but
I've never really.
I don't know.
I've done sound for a couple of live gigs, but not enough to say I could do it properly.
I think you're good. Anyway, that's my opinion.
So yeah, keep good communication. Do exactly as you're told, because you just don't want to have bad vibes with the sound engineer. When he's talking back and forward, what do you want in your monitor? Be really clear, really concise. There's nothing worse than being vague, especially when you're shouting across a room full of people, and I think I want the guitar up, maybe, I don't know. Really clear, really concise. Point to the thing you want and point up and down. It really helps. Good communication is absolute key in that situation. And depending on the sound engineer, if he's a sound guy,
Mm-hmm.
He'll know exactly what to do and he'll talk you through the whole process. But yeah, if you're intimidated by the guy, just if he comes up to the stage, hey, how you doing? Oh, I didn't catch your name. Shake his hand, and always at the end of the night, even shout out at the end of your set, would like to thank Chris for doing our sound. What a guy. Fantastic sound tonight. Thanks so much.
Sound brilliant. Yeah.
We sound, we wouldn't sound, we wouldn't have any sound at all if it wasn't for him. Thanks so much. Always shout out the venue for, putting on the event, or the promoter or whatever. Just give them a shout out, It's just courtesy. That's what I have to say on it anyway.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I agree with all of that 100%.
So, when you arrive at the venue and you've got some stuff to sell, merchandise.
Oh, right.
Now, Now you might not have stuff. Say you're just starting performing, you don't really have anything. Then you don't need to worry about that. But say you've recorded, you've released, and you're doing your album launch, or you're maybe on tour, or you're just doing random gigs. But you've accumulated some things to sell, like T-shirts and beanies and caps and CDs and all this stuff. What do you do? Where do you go? What do you just turn up your stuff? Do you just plonk your table down? Almost always no, you don't. Always ask for permission. If it's a promoter gig and it's someone else's gig, they're running it, you always have to ask for permission. Hey, is it okay if we bring some merch along, set up a little table? They'll usually say, yeah, but we have a table set up with, ticket money. When people come in, you can set some of your merch there. If you've got someone, maybe you bring someone along, whether it's your friend, your pal, your brother, whatever.
At a push, your mum.
to come along and help sell some stuff, then they'll probably be okay with it. And if they're not okay with it, then comply. You have to comply with what. Don't go behind their back and T-shirts are, up here, whatever. If they don't want you selling stuff on there at their gig, then I would respect that.
Yeah.
But if you're running your own gig, then you can do what you want.
Yep.
I would say the most important thing about the merch table is where you put the merch table.
Yeah.
If you picture a venue, you've got a bar up the back, and then you've got a big sort of area in the middle. That's where people stand. You've got some doors off to the side to the toilets and all this, and the stage is up front. Where would you put the table? I would always put the table wherever the most amount of foot traffic is walking past, whether it be on the way to the bar, or
on the way to the toilet,
on the way to the toilets, or on the way out the door. So it depends on the venue. Have a little look at the venue. Maybe turn up before, go and watch another gig at that venue, or ask the venue, like where would you recommend the best place to put a merch table? Because sometimes they'll know their own venue.
Oh yeah.
And you can kind of gauge it. You can walk in and go, right, okay, say the toilets aren't in the same room as the live event. Maybe it's out the main door, and across the corridor. Everyone's going to be walking in and out of those main doors. Stick the merch table there. So they're not necessarily going to go and buy something when they go to the toilet, because they're going to the toilet. They're not going to go and buy stuff. But every time they walk past you, they see you and they see the T-shirts. They go, oh, that's cool. Maybe get that later. If you stick your merch table with all your cool, shiny stuff up the back of the hall where no one can see it and no one's walking past, it's just going to be a waste of time. And always get the venue's permission as well, because you might be blocking fire exits and stuff like that. That's kind of the main point with merch table. But as with regards to actually taking money from people, you maybe talk about card readers and stuff.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
It's important. So,
it's the biggest issue with people.
Yeah. People pay for things by card and by their phone now. And people rarely tend to carry cash on them nowadays. So a lot of bands, will be selling, T-shirts for £10, or like they'll be selling their merch, and then a guy will come up and be like, "Oh, I'm really interested in buying this," and yeah, it's £10. Cool. Do you have a card reader? No. Oh,
I'll go and get cash, and then
go get cash, and then they don't come back.
Yeah. I would say more than half, maybe even 3/4 of the sales that you would make at a merch table, you would make from card reader.
Yeah, 100%.
Having done that, a lot of people do have the cash occasionally, but you will be turning down so many people by saying, no, we don't have a card reader.
Especially us younger folks. Like, I hardly use cash anymore.
Yeah, some people don't even have wallets with cards. They just have it all on their phone on Apple Pay and all Google Pay and stuff.
Yeah.
Just a wee beep. And you're thinking, oh, that sounds really complicated. It really isn't. We're going to talk about that probably on the next episode. We're going to talk about marketing, and we'll talk about where you can get yourself a card reader and how much they cost. And
but totally, like if you haven't already, like it's worth it. It's worth getting a card reader.
Really worth it. Yeah.
Because all you need is even for the reader itself. Like if you got a phone and you've got a 4G signal, just hotspot it, and then that's you ready to go.
It's so easy.
It was a game changer. Like we got one when we did our album launch and when we went on tour as well. And
unbelievable. So
it's so handy.
We used it for tickets. So on the door, you're sitting on the door. We had 2 tables. We had a ticket table for people when they come in the door, and then one just slightly behind it with all the merch. Just depended on the venue, and it just worked out. And we used the machine to take tickets to come and see the event, also for T-shirts and CDs as well.
Yeah.
And it's so good. It's contactless. It's just no-brainer.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was something I wanted to pass to you because it doesn't really affect. Well, I'm a drummer, so it doesn't really affect me because basically what I'm talking about is sharing gear.
Oh, sharing gear.
So usually at our promoter run event, you're using a drum kit that belongs to the venue.
Drum kit.
Yeah. So the only thing you have to bring is breakables they talk about, which is like snare drum maybe, and kick pedal and cymbals.
Yeah.
So it's not really a big deal. But what is your opinion, Julian Pombo, with his cool McCallum bagpipes hat?
Repping bagpipes, which I don't play.
Yeah. This podcast is brought to you by... No, it's not. What's your opinion on sharing gear, whether it's amps or guitars or whatever?
Okay, so for me, personally, I would never, ever in a million years let somebody use my bass unless it was an absolute emergency, right? Or unless I know that person as a player really well, right? Because for all I know, a guy could come up to me and he's like, "Oh yeah, can I borrow your bass for my set?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And then I don't know what could happen. He grabbed my bass and maybe part of their whole shtick is like he gets the bass and he starts smacking it against the skin of the bass drum. That could be part of the thing. I have no idea. So instruments for me, unless I know the person really well, big no. Mm-hmm. Never ever let anybody use your instrument. So
depends on what. If you've got this cheapy guitar that you don't really, it's just a workhorse, then it's up to you.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm saying this is my opinion. Even my cheapest bass, I wouldn't. Yeah. I would still feel a bit funny about letting people use it. So guitars for me are a big no. Amps, for bass, anyway, it's a little different, because they are just. I don't mind somebody using my bass amp, but that's kind of as far as I go. Just the bass amp. I wouldn't let anybody use my bass or use my pedals. Bass amp and lead, yeah, go for it, whatever. Because there's little that can go wrong.
Yeah,
with a bass amp, no, I'm not a guitarist, but with a guitar amp, if you've turned up and you've got a really fancy valve amp, somebody might put it up a little bit too hot and then blow the valves out on it or something, and that could be bad. So that's at your own risk. Basically, I guess it's just be aware of the situation, right? So if you're headlining, and you don't know the other bands that are going to be playing, and you're expected to share your gear, don't take anything that you feel too precious about. Don't take your 1960s Fender valve amp or whatever, like just leave it at home or leave it for another day, right? Just take in your like slightly nasty PV or whatever you want to use, and just like I don't know anything about guitar amps, and just use that, because that will be fine.
That ties in with promoters' gigs, because sometimes headline bands will contact promoters to run their gig instead of doing them themselves. And I have received phone calls from promoters, say a headline act has asked my band to perform as a support. I have had the phone call from promoters saying the headline band is asking if they can use your drum kit for the whole night, and you're talking 4 bands using my kit, and I'm just like, excuse me, what? Like, you're asking me to support and bring my kit and set it up? No, like, have four drummers like whack my drum kit all night? No,
into
hire
oblivion.
a drum kit. It's the promoter's job to like sort the gig out. Hire a drum kit. Yeah, it's shocking.
So, but yeah, that's kind of how I feel about like. It's at your own risk, and you end up kind of settling your own setting up your own kind of rules about it. But my advice would be, don't take anything that you feel too precious about. If you're going to be sharing it, unless you know the bands and you know that they're good musicians and they're going to treat your gear with respect, in which case I don't see a problem. With that, but yeah, like not in a million years would I let anybody touch my Schecter ever, unless I knew that they were a bass player, and they knew what they were doing. But like, that one is staying in my hands.
It's your baby. So, a couple of more things to talk about before we wrap up. Tuning. So, I've been to many a gig where the guitars are out of tune. It happens so often. First piece of gear you should buy after you have your guitar and your amp is a tuner. Tuner pedal. Preferably,
tuner pedal, or even like a clip-on tuner. Like, you can get some really good ones.
Yes, but the problem with those are...
It doesn't mute the sound.
It doesn't mute the sound, correct. So if you are
unless you're
tuning your guitar... Anyway. I never, ever want to hear anyone tuning their guitar and leaving their amp open and the signal running out the amp, and all you hear is...
Yeah.
No one wants to hear that. Mute your amp. Use a pedal that... You can buy pedals that are a tuner, and when you click it on, it mutes the signal. And if you have a tuner that clips onto the guitar, just turn the volume down on your guitar.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear that.
Also, if you can, and it is a forbidden technique that not many have mastered, try to speak to the audience as you're tuning.
Yeah.
Because I've played with musicians who start tuning, and then their focus goes on tuning, and that's all they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, hold on a second, I need to tune. Awkward silence. Awkward silence. Yeah. Awkward silence. And then I'm sitting there like, should I fill it? Like, should I do something? And it is, it
can be a little bit awkward.
Bad. It can get really awkward. Practice that, like, I don't know, like get a book and try tuning up your guitar and reading it aloud or something, or just learn how to have a conversation and tune your guitar. Like, it annoys me so much when you get, a band and it's like, full of, so much energy and charisma, and like the playing's really great, and then it stops. Tuning, silence. Sorry guys, I'm tuning, and it's just...
cringe.
It's very cringe-inducing. And
another thing that I've noticed a few times, especially in heavier music where you've got really, really high gain guitars. So what happens when you turn the gain up really, really high on the amp, the tiny little noises and buzzes and string noises and frets and stuff all gets exaggerated beyond belief. Even when you're not playing your guitar, and feedback happens as well between the guitar and the amp.
Yeah.
And it's not something you necessarily want all the time, which is why if you are playing really high gain rock or metal, invest in a gate pedal. Now, a gate pedal, if you don't know what a gate is a device that only allows a certain volume of sound to come out. So if you can set it's called a threshold, where anything above that threshold will open the gate and allow the signal to travel to the amp. Anything below that, i.e. noise and buzz and little bits and pieces, the gate will shut and signal will not come out the amp. So having played in crappy little metal band, I've been in a few, back in the day, our guitarist did not have a gate. And you're trying to speak and then you can just hear this when he's trying to talk to the audience. Now, he probably should have turned the volume down in the guitar.
Yeah, or just stick the tuner on.
Mute. But a gate will do that automatically. Whenever you stop playing, it will automatically mute the guitar depending on where your threshold is sitting. And I think all high gain rock should have a gate. Some amps have them built in, but a little gate pedal, it's not dear, and it just adds to the sort of professionalism. And you just don't want all this fuzz and all this noise going on and feedback and stuff. I mean, feedback's cool, but not when you're trying to talk to the audience. And lastly, I'm going to talk about marketing. It's just a tiny little bit of marketing. We're going to cover marketing
as a whole
in the next episode, but we're just going to talk a little bit about the whole social media, posters, stuff to do with gigs. So we'll just touch on it a little bit. So there's multiple ways you can approach promoting a gig. If you have, I don't know if people know this, if you have a Spotify profile, so you've just released your EP or whatever, and you've got maybe 5 or 6 gigs over the next 6 months, you can sign up to a website called soundcheck.com, and you can type in all your details for all your gigs coming up. So your band is called Band. Band and Song 1 and Song 2, whatever, or Gig 1 and Gig 2. And you can put the location, you can put the load in, not load in, the doors time, when the doors open, and when it starts and when it finishes, all that information of all your gigs coming up on this website called Songkick, as long as you get your name right. And you can also put in a link to do online ticket sales and stuff and set that all up. And when you do that, Songkick will automatically link it to your Spotify. So when people are browsing through your Spotify profile, they will see gigs, up and coming gigs. You'll see it on almost every professional artist, like Ed Sheeran or Adele or something. You can see up and coming gigs, and they have like tour names and stuff. And when you click on a specific date, Glasgow, okay, I'll click that. It's on the 13th of July. Click that, and then it will take you to a link that you can link up to, like usually is Songkick, so you can actually buy tickets via that link, and it's just an extra barrier that is lifted so that people can access, where you're going to be. And it's free, which is what we like. And it's just a good way. If you've got maybe a couple of 100 monthly listens and you're doing quite well, having your gigs listed on Spotify is an absolute must. And I would say that's the first place you would start. Social media. We're going to go into that in quite high detail in the next episode, but with regards to gigs, you should almost always have an events page for your gig. If you're sharing a gig, say there's 3 bands on the gig, you can create an event and invite the other bands to co-host this event. So they can invite their friends, you can invite your friends, and you have a sort of central hub where everyone can, converse, like, oh, what time's the doors opening? Is there going to be this? Is there going to be that? Blah, blah, blah. People ask questions. Social media is currently the best way to get in touch with your fans, other than emailing. Emailing is still the best.
Still relevant.
Yeah. It's still I would say it's still better than social media, because social media limit how much or how many of your fans can see your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they charge money for boosting posts, and it's basically so that you can pay to get to send your post to people who already like your page, which I think is yucky and horrible. But an emailing list is really cool, because you send an email out and everybody gets it. You don't have to pay Gmail to like, oh, I want to send 100 emails. Oh, we're only going to send 40, but if you pay £10 a month, well, you can
send unlimited emails.
That would be so bad. That would be a cool thing to do actually at gigs, is at your merch table, at your ticket table, take people's emails. Obviously, ask for their permission, and ask them, would you be interested in promotional emails? Like, would you like to know if we've got any upcoming gigs or if we've got any new merch? It's such a good thing to have, because you can email your fans directly, and it's such a powerful way of doing it. Like, if they make a purchase of a t-shirt, they're clearly interested.
Yeah.
They clearly want to contribute to your stuff. So send them a little email, always with their permission, and make sure you're upholding all the privacy laws and stuff. You can find all this stuff with a quick Google search.
Yeah.
Don't break the law. Don't abuse people's information. But yeah, the just get the word out. There's this gig on. No one's going to come to your gig if you don't, post about it.
Yeah, totally.
So that pretty much
kind of wraps that up.
Kind of wraps up the performing side. Now, there's loads of aspects, but we've talked about. We're going to talk about each little thing in future episodes in detail. Like we were talking about, we're going to talk about gear.
Yeah, we'll revisit all this stuff.
We're going to talk about, aesthetics and band, designs and logos and website design and stuff. We've got so much stuff to talk about. But next week, we're going to talk about marketing, general, sort of the whole sort of marketing plan for bands, and the kind of stuff that's out there, stuff you might know of already and things you might not know. And if there's things that you want us to cover anytime, send us a little email. You can find our website is www.levelupyourband.com, and there'll be a little contact form at the bottom of the page, and you can fill in your deets. And if you've got any questions or stuff, we also have a Facebook page by the same name, Level Up Your Band. And send us a message. If you like what you hear, let us know. And if there's stuff
you don't like what you hear, go away. Or just let us know.
No, if there's stuff, if you don't like what we're saying, or maybe there's something we said that was incorrect, feel free, let us know, and we'll definitely correct what we've said.
Yeah, we will.
We were just two guys with two opinions,
Yeah.
We're not an authority. And also, if you really like what you hear, give us a rating wherever you listen to it, whether it's Spotify or iTunes or whatever, because that will really help us, boost our tiny little podcast to hopefully get more listeners and, get those sweet algorithms, those sweet robots to
push our stuff. Yeah. That'd be good. Right.
We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.